Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Excellencies, dear engineers and colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and warm greetings from UNESCO headquarters in Paris. At the outset, I would like to inform you that this webinar can be followed in two languages, English and French. Please use your interpretation channel at the bottom of the Zoom link. My name is Amal Kasri. I am the Chief of Section of Basic Science Research, Innovation and Engineering, which is part of the natural science sector at UNESCO. I am very delighted to be here today together with my colleague, Mr. Ezra Clark, the Acting Director of the Division of Science Policy and Basic Science. You might know that we celebrate the World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development every year on the 4th of March, as proclaimed by the UNESCO in 2019. And since then, celebrations have taken place across the world. Our partner, the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, WFEO, has taken an active role in organizing and coordinating celebrations around the world through its membership and partner institutions. This year's WFEO celebrations include a series of stimulating activities and events, including an exciting hackathon. This hackathon allows engineers to utilize their theoretical knowledge in a fast-paced simulation of a real-world project and a 24-hour live event that will broadcast the results of the hackathon and showcase high-profile local events, interviews with ambassadors, and discussions on key engineering topics. Please take the time to join this 24 live event and other events taking place globally. I hope you will also find this webinar useful and invigorating, as we have a number of distinguished speakers. These speakers are lined up for you today. If you have any questions for the speakers, please add your question to the chat box with the name of the speaker to whom the question is directed. Without further ado, I declare this session open. I am pleased to start the session with a message from the Deputy Director General of UNESCO, Mr. Jing Ku, who is not able to join us today.
Excellencies, dear colleagues, dear friends of engineering and sustainable development, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we gather to celebrate World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development and to honor the achievements of engineers around the world. This is the fourth time that we have celebrated this day since it was proclaimed by UNESCO. Engineering was already underpinning the growth and transformation of our economies even before the invention of the steam engine 300 years ago during the first industrial revolution. We need engineering for the constant renewal of essential infrastructure for transportation, such as roads, bridges, and railways. We need engineering to provide our waste management systems and our water supply and sanitation systems. We need engineering to provide infrastructure for energy generation and digital networks. Engineering remains at the heart of the fourth industrial revolution, where big data and the Internet of Things are driving new efficiencies and inventions. However, progress comes with challenges of its own. Data centers are energy intensive, for instance. That is why engineering is a never-ending story. There is always room for improvement. Today, the world faces a new set of challenges stemming from rapid economic growth and overconsumption of natural resources. half of the 90 elements in the periodic table could be in short supply within a century, according to the European Chemical Society. That is half of every natural element that exists on Earth. Sand, for instance, is the second most traded resource after water, since 3/4 of concrete is sand. Demand for cement could grow by as much as 25% by 2030 to meet urban needs. We are witnessing the impact of climate change. Climate disruption is taking the shape of rising sea levels and the growing frequency of extreme weather events such as the heat waves, droughts, and floods. The global population is expanding and urbanization is progressing at an unprecedented pace. It is estimated that human beings will number almost 10 billion by 2050, and that 2/3 of this population will live in cities. Climate change, resource depletion, and rampant urbanization have all placed tremendous pressure on our cities and infrastructure, as well as on nature. This makes it all the more important for infrastructure to be resilient. It must be resilient to climate change. It must be light on energy consumption, or even ideally energy neutral, and infrastructure must be able to withstand strong shocks such as earthquakes. We are all still reeling from the devastation caused by the tragic earthquakes that hit Turkey and Syria last month. This year's theme for World Engineering Day is particularly poignant in light of this tragedy. This theme is engineering innovation for a more resilient world. UNESCO is supporting earthquake-prone countries in Latin America and the Caribbean in enhancing the safety of their built environment. We are doing this by introducing risk-informed policymaking and raising awareness of potential risks. We are also providing local engineers and masons in the construction sector with training. In parallel, UNESCO is developing technical recommendations and guidelines for making new buildings safer in a disaster. For instance, we are working with governments to review building codes in order to strengthen existing buildings. Time after time, we have seen how resilience is increasingly important in our world. What do we mean by resilience? Resilience is simply the ability to adapt rapidly to change and to overcome persistent challenges such as that of living in an earthquake-prone zone. Resilience is an ongoing process that requires constant adaptation. Our engineers play an important role in this regard by continually developing technologies and systems that heighten our resilience to change. In so doing, they are supporting the transition of our economies to a sustainable form of development. Ladies and gentlemen, engineers are innovators. As such, they have been at the forefront of finding solutions to some of the world's most pressing problems in past, and they will continue to play a critical role in the years to come. We are seeing a growing need for engineering expertise and innovation to be applied to strengthen resilience. We need engineers to develop infrastructure that is less wasteful of natural resources. We need engineers to develop renewable forms of energy and other green technologies. We need engineers to develop more climate-resilient societies. For example, we shall need engineering expertise and innovation to strengthen water conservation programs, to upgrade stormwater systems, and to develop early warning systems for extreme weather events. We shall need engineering expertise to build infrastructure that can withstand the wind force of a hurricane. We need engineering more than ever now that climate change is upon us. The paradox is that there is actually a lack of competent engineers with an adequate level of education and digital skills. This places a responsibility on us all to encourage more young men and women to take up careers in engineering and, in parallel, to ensure that these talented young people receive a quality education. UNESCO has also considered engineering to be a key means of addressing the organization's priorities. This is even more the case today, given the role that engineering will play in meeting the Sustainable Development Goals. One of UNESCO's strategic objectives for the period to 2025 is to work towards sustainable societies and to protect the environment through the promotion of societies of science, technology, innovation, and natural heritage. At UNESCO, we have fixed targets for building engineering skills in two priority areas. In particular, our first priority is the African region. Our second priority is to foster gender equality in engineering. Do you know that just 28% of engineering graduates worldwide are women? UNESCO is helping to redress the gender imbalance in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics through awareness-building campaigns like the Think Pink Hard Hats Challenge. The aim of this 10-year campaign to 2027 is to use workshops to mobilize 1 million young women between 13 and 17 years old in at least 10 regions to embark on a career in engineering. One way of eliminating gender stereotypes is to showcase exceptional women. That is what UNESCO and the Foundation L'Oréal have been doing for 25 years through the 4 Women in Science program. To date, more than 3,900 women around the world have been recognized through this program. UNESCO practices what it preaches. We are mainstreaming gender equality in our own international and intergovernmental scientific programs. Some 42% of research project leaders within the International Geoscience Program are women, for instance, and the objective is to reach gender parity. Ladies and gentlemen, cities are the engines of economic growth, cultural exchange, and social progress. But they are also ground zero for many of the challenges we face. With population growth and rapid urbanization, each country's requirements for infrastructure and facilities is rising. If these needs are not appropriately addressed, this could contribute to the further deterioration of the environment and exacerbate the impact of climate change. In this context, today's webinar and the panel discussion will examine smart cities as a potential means of making the world a more resilient place. In fact, these are increasingly being referred to as smarter cities. This concept of holistic urban development looks beyond individual buildings and infrastructure projects to consider the entire urban ecosystem as a whole. This ecosystem spans transportation, energy, water, and waste management. The aim of smarter cities is to improve the quality of life by making the city more adaptive and efficient through the use of new technologies. It is in the hands of engineers to ensure that our cities are sustainable, livable, and resilient. Ladies and gentlemen, let us seize this opportunity of World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development to celebrate our engineers everywhere and consider how engineering can make the world a better place. As peace builder and educator Daisaku Ikeda once said, no matter how complex global problems may seem, it is we ourselves who have given rise to them. They cannot be beyond our power to resolve. I am confident that present and future engineers all around the globe can rise to the challenge of designing a more resilient world. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our Deputy Director General for this insightful and inspiration actually that he gave in this message. Now I would like to introduce you to our first keynote speaker for today, Ms. Dai Alduyan. Dai is an urban designer. She is a spatial planner and architect. She obtained her Bachelor of Science in Architecture from Southern Illinois University and Master of Architecture and Master of Urban Design from Washington University in St. Louis. She is also the recipient of the American Planning Association's 2015 Outstanding Student Project Award for Global Urbanism. Dai is currently the head of the Center for Urban Design and Planning at the Development Authorities Support Center of Saudi Arabia and an external consultant for McKinsey Company. Dai, we are very happy to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone, and thank you very much for having me today. And I would like to start my talk by emphasizing on one of the facts that the United Nations have shared with us, which is that by 2050, 70% of the world population will be living in cities. And the rapid urbanization that is expected to occur over the next few decades presents significant challenges for cities around the world. As more people move into cities, the demand for resources such as housing, energy, water increases. This will put pressure on existing infrastructure and services and may lead to issues such as traffic congestion, air pollution, and urban sprawl. However, smart city initiatives offer ways to address these challenges and make cities more livable and sustainable. By leveraging technology, cities can improve their infrastructures and services and quality of life for their residents. In addition to addressing environmental and economic challenges, smart city initiatives can also improve social equality and inclusion For example, a smart city technology such as digital platforms and mobile apps can improve access to services and information for marginalized communities, while smart infrastructure such as public Wi-Fi network can bridge the digital divide. Overall, making cities smarter is important step to ensuring that urban growth is sustainable and equitable, and that cities remain enjoyable and livable for all. We are seeing lately a new trend in approaching which refocus smart city initiatives to be more of a people-centric cities. And I think UN Habitat is adopting that particular approach lately. And people-centric smart cities are these that prioritize the needs and well-being of their citizens above all else. There are potential ways in which smart cities can become more people-centric, of course, and focus on first by focusing on livability. And that happened by prioritizing the livability of its neighborhoods, public spaces. This could include efforts to improve air quality, reduce noise pollution, and create more green spaces in cities. Second, by improved empowerment of citizens, by giving them a voice in decision-making process, and by providing them with access to information, resources. This could include the use of online portals, mobile apps, and other digital tools that engage citizens in city planning and governance. A third aspect would be prioritizing accessibility by ensuring that citizens have access to city services and infrastructure, regardless of their income, mobility, or other facts. This includes efforts to make public transportation more accessible or to provide digital tools that make it easier for people with disabilities to navigate the city. Human-centric design. By prioritizing human-centric design in all aspects of its planning and implementation, this means that cities planner would take into consideration the needs, preferences, and behavior of citizens when designing public spaces, transportation systems, and other city infrastructure. Emphasizing in social connection, of course, by prioritizing social connection and community building as way to improve the overall well-being of its citizens. This could include efforts to create more public gathering spaces or to provide digital tools that help people connect with others who share the same interests and concerns. However, there are undeniable challenges, and one of which, or the major one, would be digital segregation. Smart cities have the potential to exuberate digital segregation, which is the unequal distribution of access to digital technologies and internet. And there are many ways in which smart cities can contribute to digital segregation. Unequal access to technology is one. Smart cities rely on digital technologies and infrastructure, such as high-speed internet and mobile devices, to provide services to citizens. However, not all citizens have equal access to these technologies, which can create digital divide that leaves some people behind. Second, the lack of digital skills. In addition to access to technology, digital segregation can also be caused by lack of digital skills or knowledge. Smart city services and tools may be difficult to use for people who are not comfortable with technology or who lack the necessary skills to navigate digital infrastructure. Biased in algorithm. Smart city technology often rely on algorithms to make decisions and provide services. However, these algorithms can be biased, either intentionally or unintentionally, which can lead to unequal access to city services or unequal treatment of citizens based on facts such as race or socioeconomic status. Fourth and last would be the language barrier. Smart city services and tools may not be available in all languages, which can create barriers for citizens who do not speak the language of the domain culture or who have limited English proficiency. Therefore, there is a pressing need to mitigate the potential of digital segregation in smart city initiatives. And I would like to end with this note. While smart city technology should not be viewed as a panacea for all urban challenges, while technology can be an important tool for addressing urban needs, it is just one part of a larger ecosystem of solutions and collaborations. Governments must consider a range of intervention, including low-tech intervention behind and behavior changes based initiatives and nature-based solutions when evaluating urban challenges. For example, while deploying high-tech solutions like sensors and data analysis can help reduce traffic congestions or expanding bike lanes, promoting public transportation, encouraging carpooling can also be effective in reducing traffic and improving air quality. Similarly, while technology can help reduce energy consumption in buildings, promoting energy efficient design, investing in renewable energy, and encouraging behavior change among building occupants can also be effective. By considering a range of intervention and weighing high-tech solution against other alternatives, government can ensure that they invest in smart city technologies only when it is most suitable solution for addressing an urban need. This will increase the likelihood of positive impact and create more balanced and holistic approach to building sustainable and livable cities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dai, for this very useful and great information about smart cities and also the challenges that we are facing to develop smart cities. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to introduce you to our second keynote speaker for today, Ms. Roberta Maio. Roberta obtained her Master of European Studies from the University of Bologna and Masters in 2014, and has 8 years work experience in international affairs, including working at the United Nations Resident Coordinator Officer in Lebanon as a project coordinator and at the United Nations Development Program as a digital transformation expert. Currently, Roberta works at the UN Habitat as a digital rights and inclusion officer under the People-Centered Smart Cities flagship program. She is focusing on digital transformation and the smart cities with a people-centricity approach in Nairobi and Kenya. Roberta, very glad to have you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Amal. Just give me a second. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see my presentation now. I think should be visible. Just give me a heads up if you have any issue. Yeah, first of all, I would like to start by saying, first, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour, bon après-midi. It is indeed a great pleasure to be here at the World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development. And on behalf of UN Habitat, I would like to start by thanking you for inviting us at this forum. It invited me to talk about UN Habitat work. Before we start, just a couple of words. I'm Roberta, and I'm a digital rights and inclusion officer with about 8 years experience maturating in the field of digital transformation in the private sector and in UN agencies. I work at UN Habitat, which is the UN program for sustainable urbanization, and we work in more than 90 countries with partners and other stakeholders. And our main goal is to build inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable cities and communities. Our motto is to leave no one and no place behind, indeed. In my intervention today, I will be focusing on the work that my agency is doing, and in particular on our program called People-Centered Smart Cities. And I'm so glad that the previous speaker has actually opened up the conversation related to importance of people centricity in smart cities. So we have been hearing a lot about this, but I think that it's important to say that UN Habitat work on innovation is strongly linked to the theme of the webinar today, which is for this year, which is engineering innovation for a more resilient world. In the history, innovation has always come with new challenges, new social discrimination, inequalities, and risks that are associated to a new way of doing things compared to the traditional fashion. Most of the challenges and opportunities deriving from innovation are in fact faced in cities. And this is why, in order to build a more resilient world with innovation, we need to start from building resilient cities. Cities are in fact central in the work that UN Habitat does, as they represent the place where most of the challenges, but also the opportunity, the socioeconomic opportunities are for a resilient world to happen. The way that we manage urbanization now, and also the use of technologies in cities, will have an impact, a tremendous impact on the achievement of Agenda 2030 and the various related SDGs. Cities are the front line of the climate crisis, as we have heard already, and also contributors, the biggest ones, to harmful emissions such as the global carbon emissions. They are also experiencing a growing urbanization trends, as we have heard from previous speakers, with 68% of the population, which is expected to live in cities in 2050. We also seen trends related to digital divide and disparities, with about 50% of the world population, which still does not have access, so is left behind to the internet, so the cyberspace. At the same time, as I said, cities are also playing a key role in responding to a lot of crises and challenges, such as the health crisis as proven by COVID-19, but also have the opportunity to boost the climate action and create a space for inclusion for the citizen. But this all depends on the way that the technologies, and again, engineer development is developed. Cities are very important also from an innovation perspective, because they are incubators of innovation, are the place where new ideas, approaches, and frontier technologies are most of the time developed and experimented. The smart cities market, as we can see here, is expected, has grown already significantly, but is expected even to grow faster over the next years. And this, of course, flags even more important for us to make sure that this happens in the right direction for the benefit of the people. Here we have a lot of examples of how a smart city could look like, but is this sustainable and resilient? This is the narrative that has dominated the smart city debate over the past decade. IBM was the first one that talked about smart cities by creating a challenge in 2010. And then we have been hearing about this business-led smart city typology for many years, until the debate has slightly changed, and now there is a growing consensus around the fact that human centricity must be one of the principles in the development of smart cities, but in general about the development on technologies. So, but digital transformation, as we know, and ICT technology are complex, and they require leadership, effective governance, capacity, and also strong commitment, besides, of course, investments. But talking from experience in working in the field now for almost a decade, the reason why often innovation fails in generate resilience and inclusion is due to 4 factors that have been also mentioned by previous speakers: the limited capacity and low digital literacy of government, but also of citizens, lowers the uptake of technologies and the correct use of them. The lack of public oversight is a second one, or outdated regulation, a limited multi-level governance that does not create that connection between the national level and the local level. Thirdly, the lack of accountability and transparency in the use of technologies and the use of course, of data or of algorithms that are behind certain technologies such as AI. And lastly, the development of smart cities, which most of the time happen in a private sector-led way, with the weak inclusion of people needs and also human rights online as offline. However, this is why UN Habitat is focusing on these challenges and has developed a specific program I will be talking about. So we have been working on the topic now for almost a decade. It started with Habitat 3 in Quito in 2016, where member states have signed for a new urban agenda on a smart city approach that makes use of opportunity deriving from technologies, but for ensuring that those are accessible to everyone. Also, our strategic plan that lasts 2020-2025 has repositioned UN Habitat as a center of excellence for innovation and has recognized the importance of new frontier technologies and innovation for urban development, prosperity, sustainability, and resilience. The agency approach is very participative, and we engage deeply with residents and communities, also urban stakeholders. We have, for instance, urban labs, and we promote community participation, trying to bridge the digital divide, developing essential digital infrastructure and governance, and building capacity. At WUF 2020, the World Urban Forum, which is one of our main events, we launched our flagship program as a specific program on people-centered smart cities. So the importance of people need being reflected into smart cities development. We support region, country offices, and wide network of cities in responding to real-time challenges related to technologies, and the demand from member states, but also from cities, has deeply increased over COVID-19, clearly. And today we have we have active projects in about 30 cities, but we also work globally. We have also launched about 3 years ago, the Hamburg UNITAC, which is our accelerator that helps us in developing the technology that is needed under this program. Just briefly, our people-centered smart cities program revolves around 5 key pillars. The first one is empowering the people, so the community in a smart city needs to center people's needs. The second is digital equity pillar, which is making the access to technology equitable for everyone. Thirdly, infrastructure pillar is the responsible management of data and digital infrastructure, improving the accessibility of services through digitalization and creating data governance framework. Building trust by securing digital assets, super important. We need to safeguard public trust by putting cybersecurity measures in place and protect data and infrastructure. Capacity pillar, there's no digitalization that can happen without building the capacity of diverse stakeholders that are involved somehow in this big ecosystem of a smart city. This also must concern, of course, people. Our work at glance, I'm trying to summarize, but there is much more honestly happening. I summarize our work over 4 categories. So the governance, we help transforming governance landscape and make it fit for digital era. Most of the governance system, the way the government work, are outdated compared to the technology that is out there. And in this regard, we have conducted the global review of smart city governance practices, which I'm going to show in the next slide. Secondly, institutional strengthening. We are creating institutional foundation and address people needs and sustainability principle in the normative framework. So this is all the political policy support. Capacity building, super important, as I highlighted. We do have learning programs specifically for policy officers, but also for the communities. And tools, we do develop tools and guidance on smart city to drive prosperity. As I said, we just ran this global study, and now we are about to publish a smart city governance framework that basically has assessed 250 cities globally and trying to understand what are the main challenges in terms of governance in cities today. Secondly, we see here the Smart City Builder Toolbox. This is a tool that helps cities in building by themselves by a step-by-step approach, the Smart City strategy, which is also super important to create the right governance. And we are now having piloting this in Malawi, in cities in Malawi, Ghana, Laos, and Suwa in Fiji. The tool that I would like to talk about is very briefly is BEAM, the Building and Establishment Automated Mapper. Has been developed in partnership with UNITAC, our accelerator for the city of eThekwini in South Africa. And the tool helped mapping with aerial photography, AI-informed assessment. So that responds to a specific challenge that the city has, because it has more than 580 informal settlements, and the BEAM can detect in 72 hours any change in the size, composition, and expansion of such settlements. The tool produces live maps also that are helping the municipality to plan better and prioritize urban upgrading intervention and improve basic service. Very last slide, just to mention that we also provide like help desk support for cities in embedding the principle of digital rights into their smart city transformation. This is extremely important. We are piloting it in 4 cities in Europe: Dublin, Tirana, Brussels, and Sofia. And we are now starting in 3 cities in Latin America, in Medellin, Niterói, and Mexico City. The idea is again to give technical assistance on how to develop either digital transformation strategies or smart city strategies that do have a strong component of people centricity and therefore people rights in the online space. And with this, I end it here. Thank you very much for having me, and I'm available for any question that you might have. Thank you. I want to stop sharing the screen. Just 1 second.
I don't know if you know the name.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Roberta, for this great presentation and for taking us to the activity of UN Habitat in this field. So now I would like to give the platform to a young engineer, Ms. Mati India, to present her research and to illustrate how this research contributes to a more resilient world. Mati obtained her PhD in physics and energy from the University of Pretoria in South Africa. Currently, she is a postdoctoral researcher at the Laboratory of Quantum Photonics, Energy Nanofabrication. Her research involves the use of biomass from agriculture products as an accumulator to store electrical energy. In 2021, she won the L'Oréal UNESCO Women in Science Award in the International Rising Talent in Africa and the Arab States category. Mati, very glad to have you here. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just a minute to share my presentation. I hope all of you can see my slides. I'm going to start to say good morning or good afternoon, everyone, ou bonjour ou bonsoir tout le monde. My name is Naima Tinyai, actually, and thank you very much for this nice introduction. Actually, I am assistant lecturer at the University Cheikh Anta Diop, Dakar, Senegal. And today I am going to talk about, just a minute. And today I'm going to talk about biomass-derived affordable and sustainable energy storage devices. Generally, most of the energy is generating from the fossil fuels, following by the heavy emission of the greenhouse gases, which create serious health and environmental issues. For example, lung cancer, global warming, air and soil pollution. The alternative for that is to adopt the exfoliation of environmentally friendly, call it renewable energy or green energy. This type of energy they can easily restore from different natural sources, but they cannot provide a sufficient energy depending on the weather and the time of the day. Thus, the development of large-scale energy storage system is necessarily important to store the excess generating energy. Among the energy storage system, supercapacitor and battery has the most use. For example, Batteries have high specific energy and low specific power, while for supercapacitors, they have high specific power and low specific energy. In comparison, supercapacitor can store energy within a very short time. They can charge and discharge quickly and repeat it for a long time. Supercapacitors outperform batteries in many applications such as electronic, transportation, renewable energy, and industry. For example, in renewable energy, supercapacitor plays a role to store the energy in the solar panel and also to help the blade to follow the direction of the wind. Based on the mechanism, supercapacitor can be divided into two types, electric double layer capacitors and pseudocapacitance or Faraday capacitance. For electric double layer capacitance, which arise from the accumulation of charge at the electro-electrolyte interface, and the material used for this particular capacitors are generally carbon-based material. For example, graphene, activated carbon, carbon nanotubes. This type of materials, they have high specific surface area, excellent electrical conductivity, and low specific capacitance. While for Faraday capacitors, which is related to the storage from the fast redox reaction, an example of material I can say conducting polymers, metal oxide or metal hydroxide. And this type of materials, they have good specific capacity, low specific surface area, and poor rate capability. And the combination of these two materials is called hybrid capacitors, where the metal oxide is coming from the Faraday capacitors and the electric double layer provides the carbon. And how we are going to produce these hybrid capacitors without increasing the environmental and health issue. As we know, Africa is a country where agriculture is a dominant economic activity. For example, if you look at Senegal, the peanut production from 2012 to 2020 increased almost 1,800,000 tons. And all of us, we know peanut core is usually used to produce oil and butter. But what about peanut shell? Usually, I don't know for you, but in my country, usually people throw in the bin or in the street. And we know that this peanut shell have cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, and can be benefit to produce nanoparticles for green energy storage system. And also, that peanut shell will help us to contribute to this sustainable development goal, especially for the number 7, which is affordable and clean energy. And how we do that? That is why actually our project is focusing on the biomass-based material to develop metal oxide and carbon-based hybrid for sustainable energy storage devices. And how we produce that? Example today, I take this example, nickel oxide, nickel cobalt oxide carbon, and how we obtain that material is very simple. What we do is we just take the peanut shell waste, for example, we grind it and we do what we call it maceration to obtain the yellow extraction. That yellowish extract help us to produce one material, we call it nickel cobalt carbon. And that material is obtained using a method we call it solvothermal. And the residues we obtain from the extract is used also to prepare another material, we call it activated carbon or activated porous shell waste nanomaterial. As you can observe, the peanut shell waste, we use 100%. We use the extract and the residue. And after preparing this material, we did several characterization techniques to confirm that we have this material. And also, it is important to say that the carbon we obtain from the nickel cobalt oxide is coming from the peanut shell. We don't use any precursor giving us that carbon. And after that, we prepare what we call it the electrode. We mix with acetylene carbon with PVD and NMP to obtain slurries. And after we coat it on the nickel, we obtain our electrode. And this is the full cell configuration can help us to fabricate our coin cell. And this is the electrochemical measurement of the negative electrode. As you can show, it indicated that we have capacitive behavior because the charge-discharge is giving us a rectangular shape with a good stability of 99.8% of Coulomb efficiency. And we did the same for the metal oxide or the hybrid capacitors, and we can see that the charge-discharge is different from the activated carbon. This is indicating that we have a Faradic behavior, and the capacities we obtain 99.3. And this is the combination of the positive electrode and the negative electrode to obtain a coin cell. And that coin cell giving us this shape, call it charge-discharge plot. And this is the specific capacity we did to say that our coin cell, if the coin cell is stable for a long time or not. And also we evaluate the Ragone plot, which giving us a specific energy of 55 watt-hour per kilogram and a specific power around 800 watt per kilogram. And this is the Ragone plot where we combine capacitor, supercapacitor, and battery, where you can see that actually with supercapacitor, we are here generally, but with this peanut shell waves, we move to this point. And I'm going to finish my presentation by saying thank you very much. It's a great opportunity for me to obtain this invitation and to participate to this webinar. Thank you very much.
Matty, thank you so much for your technical presentation and for explaining how your work can contribute to a more resilient world. Thank you. Now we move to a panel discussion on innovations of smart cities for a more resilient world. I am very pleased now to hand over now to Professor Georges Decies. George will be moderating the panel discussion. He is the Vice Rector of Toulouse University, and also he acts as the chair of the Smart Cities Technical Committee at the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, IEEE. Dear George, thank you so much for being with us today to moderate this panel, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Amal, for the kind introduction. Good morning to all of you. Bonjour. We are running a little bit out of time. Just the time to present the three panelists. I wish just to show you. Yeah, there is. Oops, sorry. A definition of what is a smart city. We heard that several times, but it's just to remind you what is the subject of our discussion today. And also, I want to add to that when we speak about smart cities may contain various smart technologies. Well, we will try to address all of these problematics during the panel discussion. Today, I have the pleasure to have around the table three distinguished speakers. I will introduce in the order that they will make a very short presentation, 5 to 7 minutes each one, just to give you an idea on what subject they want to address today, and also orient the discussion. We will start with Liu Chao. She is working as an assistant professor at the College of Architecture and Urban Planning in Tongji University in China. And she is focusing on research in urban studies in the 3E areas, 3E equal energy, environment, and economics. And we see how smart cities are linked to those three areas. Then we will have Maher Shebo, who is finished his studies in master studies in France, and today he's serving as member at the Council of Engineers for Energy Transition under the auspices of UN Secretary General. and of course his day life is his managing director, sorry, of Envision Digital in Europe. And finally, we will have Stanley Smelly, who is coming from Caribbean area, and he will speak about some concrete examples in rather isolated areas and developing economies. Okay, well, I will stop sharing my screen, and I will give right now the floor to Chao.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your introduction. Let me share my screen first. So, hello, bonjour, ni hao. It's my honor to join this webinar to introduce the intelligent city work of our organization and the China decarbonization process. And the first part is about the introduction of the ACAST. Because today is the World Engineering Day, it's a big day for us, the Chinese Academy of Engineering. The ACAST actually is taken charge under the CEE and the UNESCO. So, and this organization has many knowledge services worldwide. And in the past year, even in the Chinese pandemic period, we have organized international symposia many times, and we covered about 20,000 participants to broadcast the engineering knowledge. So, so that's the brief introduction of the ACAST. Then I want to introduce some major work about the smart cities in ACAST. About 30 years ago, we, Tongji, as the main member in the ACAST, began to establish the AI city databases called the CBDB under the fellow of the CE Wu Zhiqiang. So this data base has been evolved year by year, and is today cover about more than 13,000 independent built areas, or we can say independent cities in the world. And with the help of this many-dimensional database, it has relatively high frequency, high speed, wide range, and good accuracy of the worldwide city data. So we can build the global city IQ like a person's IQ. So we can rank the over 500 worldwide cities IQ in the world to reflect their smartness or reflect their creativeness in the worldwide cities. And also we can rank the over 700 cities, the CQ, the carbon quotient. So we can using this the CQ to reflect the cities worldwide, their progress and the status of the carbon their carbon progress with related to their economy. So then I want to introduce the Chinese carbon neutral progress today. So 2 years ago began with 2021, the Chinese chairman began to claim the national strategy of carbon peaking 2030 and the carbon neutrality 2060. It's called 30-20 national strategy. So China began to officially launch a series of actions to peak the carbon emission before 2030 and try to reduce the carbon emission after that rapidly. Then we want to make the goal of the carbon neutrality 10 years later than most of the developed countries or developed cities in Europe or America in 2060. So this is the current Chinese policy. So within this policy, I mapped the Chinese provincial carbon emission, both spatially and temporally. From the left figure, the map, we can see that the provincial carbon emission is not evenly distributed in China. So it's quite related to the provincial or the urban economy in the past years, because still today the Chinese main energy source is fossil. So, but we are trying to transfer to cleaner energy. So we can see from the right figure that the carbon emission increase very rapidly during the past 10 years, then are steadily increased today because China is taking actions to the peak carbon emission. And if we zoom to the Yangtze River data area, where the biggest city of Shanghai is located in, we can see that this area is the most developed area in China. So we can see its past carbon emission is gradually increased, not that rapidly, but the trend it became slower. And also we can see the four emission sectors like the power and the industry are still the two main emission sectors in this area. It's quite different with the developed cities in the Europe, as I know. And the residential CO2 emissions account for the smallest. But in the future, I believe with the deindustrialization and decarbonization process, it's becoming more and more important. And finally, the Shanghai government has launched the carbon peaking and the nutrition actions last year officially. It covers a lot of areas, including the green buildings and the building efficiency, clean energy, and such on. And most of all, not sure quite you know that Shanghai has the new mayor from the this year. The mayor's background is environmental engineering, and he is the formal the formal leader of the deputy of Chinese Environmental Bureau. So actually, our new mayor is organizing us to promote this 30-60 strategy very rigorously in Shanghai. So hopefully Shanghai will be one of the biggest cities sample in the following years. So that's basically my share quickly for you. Thank you. So I will discuss later with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chao. Okay, I will give the floor immediately to Meyer. Please, Chao, stop sharing your screen. Okay.
Hello, hi. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, and that one I make it. So first of all, thank you for the invitation, and thank you as well to the Council of Engineers for Energy Transition for connecting me with the UNESCO. I think the Secretary General of the UN had a great idea to build a Council of Engineers to advise on the energy transition and to advise on the a faster decarbonization. So introduction, smart grid, smart cities. We used to work in a world which was more linear in terms of like producing, transporting, distributing, and supplying the energy. It's getting much more complicated. What make it complicated is the self and local production of renewable energy, is the fact that also the transportation is moving to become more and more electric, and more storage is in the landscape. Now, what is common between all these cities? When you look at the cities, they have something in common, these kind of cities. They are all looking after how to succeed the energy transition and become net zero and how to do it fast. So, of course, it's a good sign to have more than 12,000 cities that have signed the Covenant of Meyer by saying, you know, we should decarbonize by 2050. This is a good initiative. Now, the investments are there. If you look at the European investments or global investments, 1 trillion Green Deal is a huge investment. Innovation Fund, 10 billion. Smart Cities, 135 billion, according to the IDC. And of course, what George was presenting when we speak about smart cities, we speak about smart buildings, smart industry, energy efficiency. There are billions of investments to get to a decarbonized Europe, for example, in 2050. Benefits are also creating jobs. So batteries, for example, will create 1 million jobs in 2022. Today, in 2018, a few years ago, there was like 11 million jobs in renewables. All of that will help as well to have good socioeconomic benefits. Now, what is an example of smart cities? We did work on the smart nation, smart city of Singapore, where a huge number of buildings, whether residential buildings, commercial buildings, malls, office buildings, the port of Singapore were all connected where the data, for example, was gathered, including lift monitoring. And even during the COVID, we were asked as well to develop applications because we had a lot of data about the citizens to follow the whole vaccination and the whole situation in COVID, all of that to put it on one technology platform. So area of energy efficiency, health optimization, facilities management, health optimization, also EV charging, and energy cost optimization, and reducing not only the emissions, but reducing also the bills for the citizens at the end. So that contributes to more efficiency, more resilience, and more sustainability. Now, there was even a survey done in the Smart Nation of Singapore addressing the citizens, addressing the citizen services, but also the business services, and also during the COVID. What do you think? Are you happy? There were like 72% on one KPI and 97% on another KPI, as well on the COVID business services provided. I was asked as well to speak about microgrid. Microgrid, to make it simple for the non-techies, is having as much as possible a self or autonomous, for example, in environment, where you have energy you purchase, energy you produce from renewables, energy you store, or energy you exchange on the stock market. For that, you need a microgrid. Okay, you can still connect it to the grid, but you can also have it fully autonomous. In Africa, there is 10,000 microgrid projects, for example. You can do microgrids in industrial zones, in ports, in airports, in rural places, for example. In the port of Singapore and the port of Antwerpen, there are projects currently going on microgrid, where a battery storage was put in place, wind turbines, solar panels, buildings gathering, all of that connected through a microgrid to transform the ports into green ports. That works also for industrial zones, that works also for eco districts, and that works also for airports, for example. What are the technologies for the zero carbon? You need compliance. There are standards for carbon. There is complexity. Companies are present in so many countries, and the regulations in every country are different. And you need also to be calculating everything properly, not only for reporting purposes, but also for taking actions. It's easy to measure the energy consumption and to measure scope 1 and scope 2 in terms of carbon emissions. It's very difficult to measure the scope 3, because you need to know and you need to deal with the best customers and the best vendors that you have, the suppliers that are the ones who have a minimum emissions of carbon. And this is where the technology comes. The technology needs to have all the systems, the management systems, like ERP systems. I know the UNESCO is using, for example, SAP. So these kind of systems need to be connected with the system who is measuring the energy consumption and carbon management. And that needs to be done not once a year, continuously, real time. Okay, the measurement of carbon management is a continuous real-time story and not one time. Industrial parks are part of that story as well. So we speak about low carbon or zero carbon industrial parks. The zero carbon industrial parks are parks where you have buildings, where you have factories who need a lot of energy. For example, in Ordos in Mongolia, there is a production of 100 gigawatt hour of batteries. There is green hydrogen production and other factories. All of that requires a lot of energy. You would require like half a terawatt hour of energy, green energy, for producing 10 gigawatt of batteries. So a lot of solar panels are needed. Okay, and then just to finish, we need to keep things very simple for the consumer. So the complexity should be among the electricity companies and the equipments. We need to provide something like the Amazon of energy for the users. we need to accelerate the renovation of buildings and the optimization of the energy in buildings is through providing, following the assessment, financing, turnkey solutions, and carbon life cycle management. And then at the end, what will change, you can see it in the picture, and I will see it later on. We can come back to the Q&A answers. When it comes to the cities, they have to be also conscious of the well-being, being focused on citizens, low carbon, and then the deployment of technologies between energy, transportation, and technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Maher. Stanley, the floor will be yours. I think Maher make a good introduction to microgrids. From your side, you will show us the application of microgrids in your place in Caribbean. Please try to respect the time if we wanted to have some time for discussion, which is very important.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for having me. I'm Stanley Smelly, an energy engineer at the University of the West Indies Mona campus, located in Kingston, Jamaica. Really interesting presentation so far by all the presenters, and I'll just go a little bit further by giving an example of how we've been doing smart city innovations within the Caribbean, and more specifically at the University of the West Indies Mona. So just to put things in context, the United Nations 2030 agenda calls for urgent actions to transition the world to sustainable energy systems. And developing countries in the Caribbean, we face a particular challenge because we're on our way to become more prosperous societies to develop our economy.
Your interpreters regret to have to give up on interpreting Mr. Smelly because the sound is very poor and we can't actually hear him. If there's anything that can be done to improve his sound, please do so, and we will take it up as soon as we possibly can.
The Caribbean community is leading the charge in this front by spearheading numerous initiatives aimed at accelerating the transition to low carbon energy systems. And one aspect of this, a key aspect, is the development of smart cities. So to put in context, we have on my left, you can see a map showing the Caribbean region. It's very close to the United States of America, where you see my pointer showing that's the tip of Florida. And we have several islands within the Caribbean. In fact, the Caribbean community is made up of some 20 countries. Only 15 of those countries are members of the Union, political union, and 5 are associate members. We have Jamaica right here in the center, so to speak. And there are other countries such as Guyana, which is in the southeast, which is landlocked, which is not an island, but it's part of the mainland. So like the European Union, there's a Caribbean community. And we have our plans for smart cities. And we just like to narrow the definition a bit more to think about it in terms of what the needs are and how engineers can play a role and how they have been playing a role in helping us to realize these objectives. So cities need to be designed to be smart. That's the first thing. We talk about being able to reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose, and reclaim our waste. We need engineers for that. How do we optimize use of our natural resources? The sunshine, the abundant sunshine that exists in the Caribbean. In some places, geothermal, ocean thermal energy, wave energy. How do we utilize those? How are we using our renewable energy sources, reducing our dependency on the built environment? How do we embrace innovative technologies, whilst at the same time considering issues that were mentioned before, such as digital segregation, the digital divide? We need sensors in order to achieve this. We need technologies. Big data, how that plays a role in helping us to make better policies, make better decisions, how everything connects, the Internet of Things, and those software solutions that allow us to really harness those full capabilities. But we don't want to just think of technology in terms of digital technology or technology that relies on electricity. Technology can also be any method or technique that really allows us to solve a problem or to carry out a task. With that said, let's look at some examples from the University of the West Indies Mona. One of the initiatives we've taken as we seek to make our campus smarter, and in so doing, contribute to having a smarter city in the case of Kingston. And those ideas are also shared throughout the Caribbean Community Union. And so you have different countries in the Caribbean employing some of these similar methods. What you're seeing here, this picture is a picture of one of our largest building facilities on campus. It's a basic medical science facility. It utilizes lots of smart city technologies. How we utilize building management systems, computerized systems to modulate, regulate air conditioning. We have green roofs to cut down on the urban heat island effect. We utilize solar PV systems, hot water systems. We do rainwater harvesting to keep the place nice and lush. All these systems come together to really make this building as energy efficient as possible to reduce its ecological footprint, so to speak. The idea behind smart cities is to also achieve objectives like this. So from day one, we're using less energy. You notice that I've listed some of the benefits, such as boosting the effectiveness of the infrastructure while promoting economic development, harnessing technology to achieve high levels. Those are some of the features. We also have another example here where we have a cogeneration facility. Yes, some countries are already moving away from gas. However, in Jamaica, we've fairly recently gotten access to gas, maybe some 6-7 years now. And what we've done on the Mona campus is to construct a cogeneration facility where we're able to now utilize liquefied natural gas, which is relatively low carbon when compared to oil that we're using before. And we've installed some 6.5 megawatts of capacity, and we'll be able to use that capacity to generate our electricity. The many benefits we get from this, and there are a lot of technology that came in. And of course, engineers play a significant role in ensuring that the performance of the system is maintained and that it is optimized and operates efficiently. And these are roles in addition to the design and construction, etc. Here's another example where we have a microgrid at one of our facilities. It's our Discovery Bay Marine Laboratory. If you go on YouTube, you can type that in and you can see a video telling you more about this facility. But it utilizes solar PV, battery energy storage system, an energy management system, and it allows us to really get to the crux of the matter in terms of how in the region we can make our power systems more resilient to climate change impacts. Here's a system that can recover faster, recover quickly, and is even less susceptible to climate change impacts, such as the hurricanes that we so frequently experience. Excuse me. So you notice here we can also implement demand response mechanisms where we are able to control our power loads. Certainly, cybersecurity is an important component because we're now connected to the internet and anyone can log in, make changes, harm our systems. So we need to be able to address these issues. But as I come to an end, I'd just like to showcase one of our other facilities. This is what we consider to be a prototype of a net zero energy building. It's located on our main campus, the Mona campus. And this building incorporates many renewable energy features, and it has been done in such a way that it allows us to test the efficiency of these systems whilst showcasing to the general public how some simple things they can do to achieve higher levels of efficiency. In terms of how the building is constructed, savings, etc. So I'm finishing now. Well, 7 minutes. Yeah, so I'm finishing. So in addition to that building, we have a Caribbean regional building code, and this building code provides engineers and practitioners with performance ideas in terms of how to make buildings more efficient. So everything comes together nicely in this grid you see: energy conservation, transition to low carbon energy sources, decentralized energy, and policy and capacity buildings all come together to allow us to achieve high level of sustainability. I thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Stanley. I want to have the three panelists please switch on your cameras. We have roughly a quarter of hour for the discussion, and I was asking some questions. We have also one question from the floor, which is very, very important, and I will start with that one. In fact, we speak here about different high-tech systems, smart grids, smart buildings, smart water management, smart parkings, and what we can expect other. Then the big question that arises from that, and is coming also from the floor, is how we can make those systems affordable for general consumers, but not only, how we can make them affordable for developing areas. I think this is a very, very important question, and I want to hear from you. I don't know, maybe Stanley, you can start first.
How can we make our systems more affordable? That's the question. In the Caribbean, this is a challenge that we certainly face. And the idea behind affordability not only deals with having the funds to do a particular initiative, but you have competing interests, especially as a government, as an institution. And these competing interests could be to provide social services. We are largely the Caribbean developing countries, some middle-income countries. And the challenges that we face are whether to build a new school, build a hospital, provide public infrastructure. And here it is that we're comparing with the resources that would have gone into doing this with the resources of building, making a city smarter with all the bells and whistles. So affordability comes into that as well. However, we're also very mindful of the challenges we face in terms of global climate change, and it's very real to us. So we have to do our part. And so the method that we take is that one, we first try to reduce our overall demand for energy by making our facilities more efficient, reduce our energy footprint, and by so doing, we rely more on our natural resources, such as our wind and our solar. In that, we're able to really harness the best of both worlds. And just to give others a chance to chip in here, we also do benefit to an extent from multilateral agencies who provide developmental support. And that support goes in the form of helping us to build our infrastructure in a way where we can enhance our capacity. So our human capacity is now able to assist us in facing our unique challenges in such a way that we're better able to solve the challenges. And engineers play a significant role in this to reduce costs and to get the most benefits. What's more I could say about this, but I'll just stop that right there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think also a big question is how to be able to say what smartness level we need in order to make those systems affordable to all of us. Okay, I want to ask Maher, how do you think such kind of systems, any kind of smart systems, how can help to accelerate the transition of our cities in the next decades?
Sure. So look, let's talk about buildings, for example, and how to make the buildings more energy efficient and with low carbon. So a project of connecting a building and then monitoring the building and reducing 10 to 40% probably in energy efficiency in the buildings is a project of a few weeks we are talking about. The budget, there is support, for example, from some governments. In France, you put in place a building energy management system, you get support through certificate d'économie d'énergie, for example, to reduce the cost of what you are going to spend. You could also have financing. A lot of banks are proposing green financing. So projects are short, a few weeks. Results are within less than a year for some buildings, maximum one a year and a half for the return on investment for smart buildings, where you put technologies to reduce the energy consumption and then to decarbonize. When it comes to bigger projects, the bigger projects require a lot of capex. For example, you put in place geostorage, you install solar. Most of the solar installations today are completely financed. On schools, they are financed. So have all the actors who provide finance and so on. A lot of customers do not need to pay capex anymore. Just OPEX, worst case, even not paying the OPEX, but getting the financing remunerated through the savings that would be done, for example. So things can really accelerate, and I have seen a lot of acceleration, for example, in this happening. And that only can work if you have a good cooperation between the stakeholders, the technology providers, the services companies, energy services companies, we call them ESCOs, and the financing bodies. When these come together, make it simple for anyone who wants to do a project and say, look, from day one, you have a requirement. Okay, this is the proposal. We do it in a few weeks. We implement it. We connect you. We make it happen. And then we move on to the next building and to the third building. And of course, the mayors and the responsible of the cities and the eco districts should be also motivating and promoting these kind of programs. You are on mute. I cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. My micro was muted. Thank you, Maher. I want to ask also a question to Chao, but can be also a question for all of you. What is the place of the citizen itself in those new smart technologies? Well, Chao, do you want to go with that question or someone else?
Yes, but could you repeat what the citizens want? The internet is not stable here. So the citizens, smart technology, could you repeat the question?
Yes, sorry. I was reading also the chat with another question from the floor. Yeah, my question is, what is the place that we can expect for the citizen inside the smart systems?
Okay, so for the most public, they do have time to understand and accept the new technologies, of course. But they can feel, the easiest approach, in Shanghai or in China, is that they can feel some direct benefits at now, not in 30 years. Launching the 30-60 policy or the European 2040 neutral policy do have difficulties when the people don't feel the benefits right now. So that why do it cost so many money, and the solar system sometimes does not seem that effective or efficient. It's difficult to balance now and the future. So from my opinion, I would suggest for that the technology start from the easiest one that can involve as many public as we can, and can give back responsive benefits in the following month or within 1 year. So that's my reply.
Okay, thank you. We have a few minutes more. There is a question that always I want to ask. What do you think that is a smart system? This is a very tricky question, and I swear we don't discuss about that before. Someone from you three could try to give me what is the definition of a smart system, because for me, as I always say to my students, in a smart system, the only potential smart component is the end user, and that can be not always the case. Well, what is for you the smart system?
Yeah, if I can take it, the smartest system is the one which is for the most laziest users, right? Okay. The smart system think of, ChatGPT is very smart, right? So ChatGPT has the whole intelligence, the whole AI, everything, right? So when I do not have time and I need to know about a topic, or I need to have answers for a certain topic, I rely on ChatGPT. So I'm the lazy guy, okay? And the ChatGPT does it for me. A smart system or a smart building and so on, I don't need to think when I should turn off or turn on the light or the boiler or everything. The whole building makes it. Think about it. That's the whole learning. Should know that there are 3 people or 5 people in the building. I should not say it, right? I should only see at the end that I have something which is optimized in terms of energy. Same for my car. If I have an electric car, I need the car to think about everything, that I'm not consuming a lot of gasoline. For the electric car, I have an electric car, that also my battery has the maximum autonomy, for example.
Yeah, very nice answer here. I agree with you. But then I have another question, sorry. Is yeah, that means a smart system help me to solve problems, secondary problems if you want, and leave me the time to do much more interesting things. Then the question is, how intrusive is this smart system to my private life? Because
as an advisor. If you don't want to have somebody beside you every day and telling you what you have, then you get rid of an advisor. The advisor has an advantage because he tells you what you have to do, but by hell, I mean, he is always like, intrusive into what you are doing every day, right? So if I want to be free, I don't take an advisor as much as that. So if you say that the value is bigger than the disadvantage, then you will let these technology companies come. If I have a security alarm at home, okay, it's a bit intrusive because they can know a lot of things about me, but it saved me from the thieves. It's a choice you have to make. Every time you use internet, they collect information about you. Okay, but then if you don't use internet, you don't get knowledge. But I know there is a risk.
Thank you. Very good answer. And the question, I think, is still open. Well, I have a last question, and then we have to stop. Almost the time is arriving at the end. I have a question from the floor, which is very specific. I don't know if someone of you 3, maybe Stanley or I don't know who. What do you think about use of hydrogen in energy production to help to regenerate environment? Do you think that, yes, of course, today we are speaking more and more about hydrogen. Is that really beneficial to the environment?
If I may answer.
Go on.
So, okay. So there are different colors of hydrogen, and the only one which is interesting for the environment is the green hydrogen, not the gray or the others. Green hydrogen is expensive, is $5 to $6 per ton of per kilogram. So we need to bring it down to something which is half a price or like to $2 per kilogram. So it's interesting if you optimize with the electrolyzers the production of hydrogen to that price. In this case, yes, it could be used for the big trucks, but it could be used also for other transportation fields, for other storage, for example, needs and so on. It's green, it's clean, it's productive, not that expensive. In this case, it could take off. And the recommendation is to produce hydrogen, but also to produce green ammonia, which is used very much for rural and other needs, and to produce them as much as possible locally.
Okay, thank you. Well, Chao or Stanley, do you want to add something before closing the discussion? We have 2 minutes left. Okay, I don't see anything. Yes, Stanley, go on.
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to chip in briefly here. So based on all the responses so far, the only thing I'll add is that when you spoke about, what makes us smart, what is smart, and then we're now speaking about particular technology such as hydrogen, just like to throw it out there that while we think about smart, it is not necessarily the most sustainable solution that we can have. So whilst it can be smart, that is, it has certain characteristics as just described, it may actually have a negative impact in another way. So we were talking about affordability earlier. And so while the technology can be smart, excuse me, if it is that this technology is creating issues within the society where a large block of the society is not able to access this technology, or it brings only benefit to them, then it may not be sustainable. And when we think about something as emerging as hydrogen and using that, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, etc. For us in the Caribbean, where things are still we're quite advanced in many respects. However, when it comes to some technologies that are experimental, it may not necessarily be things that we choose to pursue before they are mature to a certain level. And so at this moment, we tend to be more focused on electric vehicles, EV, typically just electricity, and not so much hydrogen or another source. For the very reason that whilst it can be smart, we also want it to be sustainable. Hence in my presentation, I spoke about smart, sustainable energy management. So thanks much.
So,
Yeah.
George, I want to
Yes.
make a
Yes, go on.
make a amendment too. Yes. So today's topic is about smart and resilience. Actually, smart is not necessarily related to resilience all the time. In most worldwide cities, I think the smart systems are strong in monitor and the information. But for the physical, for the solid smart cities, actually, I see most of the cities are just on the way to start. So the informatics helps us a lot. But when the disaster, the coastal, the hurricanes came, all the smart systems, sometimes they just shut down. So how to make the smart systems stable and resilient actually are big challenges today. So I hope there are like a lot of ways try to with all of the outstanding engineering. So hopefully in like about 5 to 10 years, we can have not only the soft smart information systems and also the solid smart cities. Yes, that's my summary.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think we arrive almost at the end of this panel. I think we could stay here for at least 1 hour more and have a very interesting questions and answers. Well, I want to thank you all the 3 panelists, and then I give the floor back to Amal for the last part of this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, George, and all the panelists for this very interesting discussions, very stimulating, lots of information. Thank you very much. And we are coming actually close to the end, but maybe before we end, most of the questions from the audience have been already answered by the panelists, and thank you very much for that. Maybe one more comment here. I think it's interesting that we can have in few minutes a comment from you about the education system. So, how can education system actually be upgraded to meet the challenges of tomorrow, the challenges that we can address in order to develop smarter cities? Maybe I think Chao wanted to comment on this.
The last question, there is a cost-effective way to introduce these measures to a company?
No, the education system. How can we upgrade the education system
I see the education system.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So I will input the website to you. The ICAST has its own website, and our Tongji University also has the Open Scholar. The Open website is set to broadcast in mutual language to broadcast urban planning knowledge. You can find many professors in different countries about a lot of information about urban planning and design. So I will tap the website to you. You can search online too. Yeah.
Thank you very much. George, would you like to comment on this related to upgrading the education system?
Yes, thank you very much. I am teacher. Well, this is also this is a very crucial point. In fact, what happened today? We are bringing more and more sophisticated systems to people that they are not always specialists, And this type of system needs more and more maintenance. I'm not sure, especially in remote areas or developing areas, that if we set a such system there, we can guarantee the availability of the system at any moment if we don't have special training, local people in order to maintain the system and make the urgent repairs. Is something that we need to think about. We need not only to create new job profiles around smart systems, but we need also to think how to train local people in order to be the right users and be able to make the maintenance of the system itself. Well, this is just a thought. This is something that we can discuss. We can discuss in another occasion. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, George, and thank you for everyone. We are running out of time now, so we are coming actually to the end of this webinar. And now I would like to invite to the floor my colleague Ezra Clark to deliver the closing remarks. Ezra is the acting director of the Division of Science Policy and the Basic Science. Ezra, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Amal. Thank you, everyone. So yeah, it just leaves me to say a few closing words. So let me go ahead and do that in the time we have available. So dear participants, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today in this celebration of World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development. As you know, this day was proclaimed by UNESCO to be celebrated on the 4th of March, so obviously tomorrow, every year to increase global awareness and understanding of the role of engineering in modern life and in addressing the multitude of challenges faced by humanity today, such as climate change, advancing sustainable development, and especially in Africa, Asia, and the small island developing states. And we've heard in the discussions this afternoon several of these challenges, and perhaps more importantly, some potential and real solutions. So to this end, this International Day is celebrated across the globe. And our partner, the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, has organized a World Engineering Day 24-hour live event, which may well interest you. And the broadcast will start tomorrow, showcasing World Engineering Day around the globe to see how engineers across the world are celebrating. And this broadcast will also include the World Engineering Day Hackathon, along with the anticipated announcement of the winner, as Amal mentioned in her opening address. And you can also discover and follow or join official events in your region through the World Engineering Day official page. And you can see, I think a big slide on the screen at the moment gives you some information about that, and certainly the address where you can find that. And of course, we invite you to organize, if you're not already doing so, activities in your countries, in your organizations, institutions, and local communities to raise awareness of engineering and its relevance to sustainable development in the celebration of World Engineering Day. So we very much hope that today's webinar has achieved its objective on this International Day, highlighting the importance of engineering in our daily lives and the new and rapidly emerging technologies that are an opportunity for positive transformation and sustainable development, leaving no one behind. And as we've heard, the focus has been on smart cities, which is very relevant in the background of the natural catastrophes facing our societies, and certainly in alignment with the year's theme of World Engineering Day, engineering and innovations for a more resilient world. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all the speakers for taking the time to share their knowledge and their perspectives on how these engineering innovations lead to resilience and sustainable development, and also to the excellent job done by the moderators for taking us through these intriguing and interesting discussions. And to also thank the keynote speakers, which gave us insights into how the Arab region takes on the challenges and the use of smart technologies some examples of how UN Habitat deploys technology and innovation in cities with a people-centric approach, and also the information on this rather intriguing use of biomass of agricultural products in storing electricity, all very interesting. And then followed by this, I would say, excellent panel discussion, and you know, excellently moderated with great inputs, really. So thank you so much for that. On really how engineering can directly contribute to our understanding of the use of such innovations related to smart cities and many of the issues related to sustainable development. And we were provided insights into this from the perspective of Europe, Asia, and Latin America. They certainly were, I'm sure you'll agree, very interesting presentations, rich discussions, and very useful for us all. So I'd like to conclude really by thanking our partners, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, the Council of Engineers for Energy Transition, under the auspices of the Secretary General, and the International Knowledge Centre for Engineering Sciences and Technology for supporting this webinar. I hope you've found it interesting, engaging as I have, and the lineup of speakers has been inspiring, particularly for young students, young engineers, young aspirational engineers, and particularly for girls and young women who would like to contribute to sustainable development and resilience of human societies through engineering. And as science-based evidence is required for decision making, I hope any policymakers or future policymakers joining us today found the webinar useful. Engineering, of course, requires an enabling policy environment, as well as planning, investment, infrastructures, and human resources at various levels. And as we've heard throughout the webinar, we need to close this knowledge gap and the digital divide between societies. So join us in advancing international cooperation in science, technology, and engineering, engineering innovation. And really, final words, thank you very much for all the speakers. Thank you for everyone participating and for our excellent moderators and joining and celebrating this day. And maybe we can put the slide up again at the very end as we close, just to make sure everyone can get that. So thank you very much, and I'll hand back to Amal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ezra. Thank you for concluding this webinar today. And again, thank you for all the speakers and the panelists. And thank you for Ashwini, to Ashwini actually, for all her efforts with everyone. I hope to see you next year on the same day, on the 4th of March for the next year's celebration. And have a good afternoon or good evening, all of you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.